Right, welcome back. Before the break, we asked you, has the Jubilee government done enough to address historical land injustices? Has the Jubilee government done enough to address historical land injustices? And just to sample some of the responses here, MCA Gatetran Duwati says yes, only that everything that the Jubilee Party is partaking is politicized, thus there's not enough response to injustices. And George Morara Geke says it does not have and will never have the capacity to address them. That requires a national undertaking that demands very high neutrality. But moving this conversation along now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has told off opposition leader Raila Odinga for inciting Kenyans to violence. He said Raila is treading the same path that led to the 2007-8 post-election violence. The president said that Raila's Kajiado remarks were similar to the language he used to create conflict after the 2007 general election. He accused the NASA flag bearer of lighting the fire that set the country ablaze 10 years ago. In response, Raila called the president's claims a desperate attempt to blame him for the post-election violence of 2007-2008. He said the real culprits are those who have stagnated the country's development by corruptly acquiring public resources, some of whom, he said, have close ties to the Kenyatta family.
Jamii ilipigana nchi hii. Hakuna jamii ilipigana zaidi ya Wakikuyu na Wakalenjin. Tuseme ukweli bana. Si ni ukweli? Leo hii rais ni Mkikuyu, naibu ni Mkalenjin, na tumechaguliwa na Wakikuyu na Wakalenjin.
Right, Miruri, I'll start with you. Speaking about inflammatory statements, isn't that one of them?
I think both sides of the political divide are guilty of those kind of statements. And I think it is important for our leaders also, including the president, to also to be a bit responsible, because when this country burns, all of us burn in it. So it is not like the country will burn and the Jubilee supporters would be safe or the NASA supporters would be safe. But I think I would also want to say that the opposition is also spending too much time on side shows instead of preparing to win, to an extent that people feel like the opposition is not really ready for the ballot. So I think they need to also spend more time telling Kenyans about what they are going to do and not what is going to sabotage the fairness of the general election. I think there is too much talk about what will stop them from winning.
Right. And of course, being an election period, people will revert to the kind of rhetoric that has won elections in the past, which is normally tribal. But then the president there in that clip talked about the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin fighting for independence. And it's interesting, around those two communities are also issues of land injustices. But what did you make of his statements?
It's unfortunate that those are statements coming from a head of state. And remember, just coming in the backdrop of what we experienced in 2007, 2008, and the country is still healing. And also, if you hear the statements, just what they were referring to, the NASA leader has said, I think these two leaders should stand tall above the rest, and even the other presidential candidates, and lead the path and lead their lieutenants, because even their supporters will speak based on what they say. And we've heard some of their supporters say, the abusers, we abuse them. They talk, we talk. So I don't think that is where we need to be. We need to be in a place where our leaders talk about issues. If it is about agriculture, how will those seeking re-elections do it better than what they've done? What about those who want to take over the government for the first time? What will they do different from what these people have done? I think that is the discourse that the country needs right now. We don't need discourse of who fought better in independence, which communities were marginalized, because that is where we have been. We have been talking about ethnic communities, what we have. Now we have 43 communities. If all the 43 came out and say, this is what we've contributed, this is what we all want the presidency. We can't have 43 presidents in this country. We can only have one. So all of us should be tolerant and just strike a balance. And we need to see this as we go forward to the elections, that our leaders will refrain from attack campaigns to issue-based campaigns.
Good point, Fabala.
I think the statement, particularly the president's statement, is a very unfortunate, because, I mean, their supporters will pick up on something like that and fuel it further. And it is unfortunate that what our politics is dwelling on politics, like Rosine says, of attacking and counter-attacking. It doesn't make sense. We need issue-based arguments to get our voters. But be it as it may, I mean, all of us know that our political divide is based on ethnicity. Like the president says, I mean, the current government, or the current guys in government are Kalenjins and Kikuyus. The other guys feel, and it is for that reason that the Railas of this world and the Musalias and the likes of them are also trying to galvanize people based on that. Because, I mean, if that is the kind of speech that the president
So they're more or less doing the same thing in NASA, but trying to build a tribal coalition.
Yes, that is what they're trying to do.
To give the president some credit, I watched the video. It was 1 minute and around 30 seconds. He was giving the genesis of the 2007-2008 war between, you know, that where it happened most. And I think if you take that portion of the speech alone and broadcast it the way we've done, we're basically taking the message of the president out of context, in my humble opinion. But still, I will agree with Billy Mururi that we need to see responsibility coming from both political divides so that we are able to conserve a nation and bring it together instead of tearing it apart. Already we have 43 tribes rather. We have been fighting since independence. We've not had, you know, like cohesiveness, so we are missing out. This clan-based thinking is what is making this nation not to progress, because we are denying opportunities to people who are actually gifted and talented simply because they're from different tribes. And if we can come together on the table of brotherhood and actually work together, this nation can be great. I believe so. So I believe that both the president and the opposition leaders and both Jubilee and NASA should actually practice self-control of the time.
I think also from where we sit, covering the current campaigns has been very difficult for journalists, and I'm sure all my colleagues have experienced the same. Because you go to a rally, what you get is that this person is replying to the opponent on what they have said. Sometimes you just want to go to a rally and listen to a leader appeal to the people.
Talk to you directly.
Yeah, talk to you directly.
Yeah.
That he is addressing my issues, not addressing an opponent. And that is not what we are feeling now. That's why when you come from a rally, you don't know where to pitch your story. Because at the end of the day, as a journalist, you don't speak for the police, and you cannot say there is no story. So at the end of the day, you find yourself just reporting and reproducing.
He said, she said, yeah.
Look at, even pick the newspapers Monday to Friday. Listen to the news channel Monday to Friday. You'll see it's about the ballot, stealing elections, or corruption and all that. We are not hearing people are saying, this is my 10-point plan if I'm elected president.
Well, they did give us their 10-point plan, 7-point plan.
They always say it, elaborate on it, because you don't tell us in Nairobi, what about the Mama Mboga? How does that resonate to that Mama Mboga down there?
Can I be the devil's advocate, sorry, Wabala, before you say something, and say maybe what we need is a federal system. Maybe we just need a government of national unity until the point where we all feel that we've been represented. Because this thing of one side against the other, because they're... Oh dear. I guess we can carry on and forget that. This small matter of things falling down on the set. Yeah. But NASA and Jubilee, their plans, 10 points or 7 points or 8 points, are more or less the same. Yeah. So why don't they come together and make every Kenyan feel like they're represented in this thing until the point where our democracy is mature enough to handle multi-party politics?
But the problem is that politics is not a logical game. It's a game of emotions. So emotions must be started for people to come out. Yeah. One community must gang up against the other for them to win. Right. So hopefully,
we should have a government.
And if you go to the United States of America, it's a class versus another class, a race versus another race. So unless human beings and as the citizens of the Republic of Kenya, unless we ourselves grow and demand better from our leaders without cheering them on in their tribal, politics, then we can never redeem this country.
And that is what I was trying to bring up. That, hey, look, why can't we as Kenyans just say we don't want to listen to your tribal vitriol and your abuses. We want you to give us issues. Why? If we as Kenyans decided that this is what we want, I think they will shape up. Yeah.
But the ancestral demons are too strong to allow us.
I think President Kenyatta and Mr. Odinga are caught in an awkward position because there are two things they are supposed to do. First, they are supposed to galvanize their strongholds and then also look for the swing vote. And I think 45% of Jubilee supporters have made up their mind. 45% of NASA people have made up their mind. So they're actually fighting for this 10%. Unfortunately, the messages that are coming in are not trying to attract this 10% to their side. So I think they are concentrating so much on galvanizing their support base at the expense of looking for what will tilt the scales in their favor.
Because if I want to win an election and I'm a Jubilee Party member, I have to throw vitriol at Raila, and if I'm on the other side, likewise I have to throw gab at
Right. Fair comment. That's true enough. But now let's focus on something which affects us all as journalists, and this is the issue of Walter Menya, the Sunday Nation writer who was arrested over the weekend and held for 2 days. He has been released now unconditionally by the magistrate, and police said that he had solicited a bribe to write a damaging story implicating top civil servants who are actively involved in the Friends of Jubilee Foundation. Mr. Menya reported that 3 top public officers were among the registered officials of a Jubilee campaign lobby that describes itself as a public service organization, despite questions being raised on their role. Inspector General of Police Joseph Boynet claimed that the writer was arrested while soliciting for a bribe.
Release on bond or bail can only be prayed against if there are compelling reasons. The word that I used in the Constitution are that they are compelling reasons. Now, I have not had the good corporal here tell us what are those compelling reasons. What is it that they cannot do unless they keep the accused person in custody?
Right, so can we put this story into context, like for the viewers? Because is it a cut and dried case of the police suspected that he had committed a crime, or is there more to it, Billy?
No,
No, Dominic.
He's banning. No, it's unfortunate that the police can accept to be used in a situation like this. One, they arrest Menya. So, I mean, my belief is that if you arrest somebody, it's based on an offense he has committed. Then you get him to court and you are asking for 3 more days to investigate. Why don't you investigate and complete your investigations, arrest and prosecute? It doesn't really make sense. Where was Menya arrested? Menya apparently is arrested in a hospital. How was he soliciting in a hospital? They followed him up to the hospital. So, I mean, the circumstances under which Menya was arrested are a bit fishy.
But why pick on Menya, Rosalie?
I don't know exactly what was behind the arrest, but for me, I think I gave a thumbs up to the magistrate who released Menya, because one, if you look at the Constitution, you have a right, and they always say you are guilty until proven otherwise. Now, in this case, Menya is arrested in hospital. The entire Sunday, none of us knows what his crime is, only to get a statement from the IG stating that he was soliciting money. In this case, we have Menya being arrested for soliciting money, but we don't know the giver. Because there is always a giver and a receiver. So from the onset, we should have known who was this giver. Then Menya was now receiving. Then now you start deducing from that, okay, he was giving. Why was he giving? Was his work done? Then why did he decide now to come call in the police officers? Because I'm sure those police were not just seated there waiting for Menya to arrest Menya. Somebody must have filed a complaint, and that is why they went to look for him until in hospital. So I think there is so much mystery around this issue of Menya. And I think if Menya was part of us here, he will have told us more beyond what we know.
The person who actually released the photos, the exclusive photos from the DCI.
Right, a blogger, I believe.
A blogger, actually. A blogger affiliated. We don't want to mention it.
Who actually runs in Jubilee Circle.
Yeah, as journalists, I think we are supposed to be mourning this day, because it's sad for each and every one of us who believes that the pen is mightier than the sword, that our responsibility is to tell the truth in objectivity without actually taking side. That when you do your work, what you're required to do and paid to do, you are arrested, you are harassed, and you're humiliated in front of the Republic. It's extremely unfortunate.
Two things, though. It's no secret that some journalists have been known to receive brown envelopes and to either solicit bribes or accept bribes. And another thing is, the bigger story here is the story he was covering. about the Jubilee Foundation, which everybody seems to have forgotten about.
But the story was actually carried.
It was carried.
The story ran,
Yes, but now our attention has kind of switched away from that.
So it doesn't make sense that you arrest me for writing and publishing a story that you didn't want me to. But then I'm arrested
because
for
the story still ran at the end of the day.
But we diverted the attention from the fact that there are public servants who actually participated in a fundraiser that is affiliated to a political party, something that is against the integrity, of the official.
Mallory, quickly.
I think I have had a chance to work with Menya for about 5 years in politics, and I think Menya should sue the government, because I think this thing is, from what from the information we are getting, is that the documents he had got were quite juicy, and they were supposed to be used to give that story. So, and then he's arrested for not being for publishing the same. So I think my take is Menya should sue the government.
Right, because there's definitely more to this story than we're hearing about. But now, moving on, the Bungoma Governor, Kenneth Lusaka, who is running on a Jubilee ticket, and his rival, Wycliffe Wangamati of Ford Kenya, are among 15 candidates summoned by IEBC over alleged breach of the Electoral Code of Conduct. The two supporters clashed in Bungoma during their campaigns, which left one person dead.
You look, we also have video showing people in green T-shirts with the rungus. So it depends on what you want to see and what you want to present. So we also will give videos, so then you can look at them and see who are carrying maybe bigger rungus and who are carrying stones. Because we also have videos. And we are saying, we are also not mad people just to follow people from behind and start beating them.
The reason we are here is because Ken Magalusaka followed us, and they started beating our supporters, and it can be proved here. And Chair, one of the when he went to address his rally, we have his speech here. He said, "Sisi tulikuja hapa hatukuacha mikono nyumbani," showing that he was prepared for war. I addressed people after that rally, after the incident. My language was peace, and I can prove it. My speech was about peace. His speech was, hatukuacha mikono nyumbani, kama wanataka kutupiga tutaonana. He was not preaching peace.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts on IEBC cracking the whip?
I think what IEBC is doing is good. I just don't know if they'll succeed with it, because remember, if you look at this Elections Offences Act, the way it goes beyond to the DPP's office. So I don't know what muscle they can flex to rein in on the election offenders. But if you listen to both the leaders speak and you hear their tone, you can imagine when they're in the field and addressing their supporters, and eventually they meet and clash. You don't expect them to be peaceful and just wave to each other and go. So again, at the end of the day, just what we were discussing, our leaders must take responsibility. I know it's very hard to control a crowd, especially when they're so excited and they're with you, but it depends on the message that you deliver. If you deliver peace message, they will conduct themselves well. You deliver a war message, they will do the same. So I think what IEBC has started is good. We hope that it will not end there. Let them flex it further to send a message to others that this is not what we intend to see in 2017.
But are they acting in goodwill, Wabala?
I really don't think they're acting. They're just compelled to come and explain themselves. But you look at what is happening on the ground, there's a lot of animosity, down there. And I hope IEBC is able to handle this case so that it's an example to other candidates that they cannot go out of hand.
All right, Ganesh, do we need a president in this country, or do we need like a change manager to change the culture of the people of Kenya? Because it seems we're fine with the way things go when it's very adversarial. That's the kind of politics that we're used to.
I don't really think that we've had, like 4 different presidents in this country. And maybe the institution itself doesn't have a problem, really. Really, I think we need to encourage more civic education so that people who elect leaders and put them into the office are people who are actually knowledgeable and they understand what it means to be a leader. Because if you can vote for someone, but actually that story of Bungoma, the reason I was very quiet is because nobody actually died. A poor soul died in Bungoma. And we've forgotten about him completely, or her family, the agony and the pain that they've gone through. We no longer care about that. Now what we're doing right now is doing a formality of parading two politicians right there for us to see that like we are working. But ultimately they'll still go back and do whatever it is that they do best, loot from us, and do all that evil that they do, and we'll still praise them and lie at their feet and worship them.
Danish, those are very strong words.
It is not enough for IBC to judge someone, because I think the history we have had with the IBC or the Electoral Commission that have been there is that they judge someone, people talk, and then it is forgotten. But I think Kenyans should also know that on 9th of August, there will be no election. So there is no point of fighting the way people are fighting, and especially when the two candidates will meet and just chat and talk and whatever. So we must also, as Kenyans, stop that emotional input that we are giving politics.
I think
Right.
really if you
I'm
look,
sorry, Rosalind. We are completely out of time, so we'll have to carry on next week if you can come on again. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me tonight. Earlier, we asked you, has the Jubilee government done enough to address Kenya's historical land injustices? 81% of you say no, 19% of you say yes. That's where we ended tonight. My name is Julie Masiga, joined by Danish, Dominic, Roslyn, and William Wiruri. Coming up next is KTN Prime, hosted by Ben Kitili and Sophia Wanuna. Thank you so much. Do join us next week.